Yep.
Alright, so in 3, 2, 1.
Alright. Welcome back, Mid-Spring Speed Fling. We have got the wonderful SCXCR here playing Streets of Fury EX. Feel free to take it away.
Alright, well, I think this goes without saying considering the game we're playing, but shoutouts to the French restream. This is Streets of Fury EX. We are going to take back Paris from all the gangs by force. Sorry, I'm just making sure everything looks okay. Good. I'll be playing as Ruby Diamonds for this playthrough. She's not particularly strong, but she's really fast and can build up the Fury gauge quickly. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go. Now the key here is that you can infinite people really easily in this, so I'm going to try and just air juggle as many people to death as I can. Also, every character in this has special abilities called Furies. They're different for each character, and the good thing about Ruby's is it is great for crowd control. As you may have noticed, I've been jumping across different lanes that everybody can move across, and her Fury allows her to damage people one lane across in either direction. It has an area of effect. And each level is divided into several sections. Your health and Furies carry over to each, but your health does reset as you go through each different level trying to fight different gangs. Okay, I got the guard crush. I'm also trying to kind of herd enemies over to the right as I go through all of these screens, because that is where the transition is always going to take place. Now you can keep juggling these people for a little bit after you knock them out. And the reason you'll do that is because you can build up your Fury bar more that way. They will eventually just explode, so you can't juggle them forever. But if I know I'm going into a boss, I will make absolutely sure that I have a maxed out Fury bar, because otherwise things can get a little messy. Enemies generally will try to chase after you, but sometimes they will just decide to do whatever, whenever. For this, you have to defeat a certain amount of these generic grunts to get the boss to appear. And this guy will not get out of my way. Okay, if an enemy's flashing red, that means that they have a counter they're working up. Or they can tech, which will give them invincibility frames. And usually when that happens, they will immediately follow it with... okay, they'll follow it with an attack. It's always a good idea to kill enemies in the air in this game, because otherwise they'll tend to have very long death animations. That tends to become more and more true as we get deeper into the game. Okay, now we're going to start having allies appear. Pretty much every enemy that you see, with a couple exceptions, is going to be a playable character that you can unlock in this game. Okay, I'm working up my Fury bar to full. Oh, of course you would. The allies don't do like as much damage as they would if you were controlling them. So, like, even though he was juggling that guy pretty well, he wasn't doing a whole lot of damage. It can also get a little annoying when you're trying to just let the enemy die and the ally keeps juggling them mercilessly. Okay, let's just do this. Yeah, there is a run input for this, but it's usually better with Ruby Diamonds to just do her forward B attack. That time I actually, like, stand still intentionally, because that groups the enemies together faster. Okay, here I have to wait for a little bit, because you can kill the enemies too fast, and then you're just left to kill time. Excellent. Now, this boss is... we're not going to fight him for a couple of sections, but he does end up being one of the most annoying bosses in the game. You'll see why when we get there, but for now I'm just using my Furies to damage all three of these guys at once. And that allows all these guys to group up on this one. And now we're going to get to one of the more annoying enemies, because this guy, when you see that blue aura around him, he is invincible. Or he at least has like a very high stamina gauge for his blocking. So the best course of action is to jump over him and then hit him in the back. Good, we got the group. And we're good. It can be tough to do, but sometimes it's best to just be patient in this game and hope that the enemies will all jump into the same lane so that you can just air juggle everybody at the same time. That's something I want to avoid doing, that counter, because as you saw, it like sends enemies flying across the screen. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to ask, how accurate a representation of Paris is this? Okay, so I'm gonna try and clear out some of these little guys. And then the boss is here. The boss does not actually attack at all. But the whole point of this is to try and get that stamina gauge down. Because it has... the boss has, like, absolutely no health. Oh, boss changed lanes. I'm gonna use this guy to work up my fury gauge a little bit. Okay, this is actually pretty bad placement for the boss. You want him to be all the way to the right side of the screen, because unlike the other boss, there is absolutely no delay on section cleared and your ability to go to the next stage. And now the most annoying enemy in the game. This is also a rather annoying section because the ceiling is much lower, which means you have to change up your juggling technique. Yeah, just out of habit, I keep juggling as though the ceiling isn't there. Ugh. This guy can be a little tough to jump over. Okay, with this I will max out my fury gauge, and that should set us up pretty well for the next section. Or I could just do this. That's actually a slower way to, like, work down the health, but it is so much fun to do. So those guys are back, and their gimmick is that if I do my jumping attack, they can follow me into the air and knock me out of it. So I'll have to be a little careful with my timing for it. Now here's where I kind of have to use the enemies to my advantage, because those skaters are going to be able to guard crush these guys. So I'm going to wait for them to do that, and then just like pick up the pieces afterward. Another thing too is I'm going to be like trying to juggle these people as they're doing their wake-up animations, because if you let them get all the way up, then their stamina bar can refresh, and you won't be able to juggle them. Okay, I should be in decent shape for the boss. And this is the boss that, like, most consistently kills my runs. This boss is going to look very familiar, except maybe a little taller. So I have to move a particular way to try and avoid getting hit too much, and that's not it. Okay, good. The toughest thing about that is just trying to coordinate with so many enemies on screen. It's very easy to just get stun locked and thrown across the screen.
Be my guest.
And we're going to get introduced to a couple new enemies, but they aren't really anything special, so if you have any like announcements or donations or anything to read, now is a good time.
We don't have any new donations, but I just want to let you know that we have a stretch goal of $3,000 we're trying to hit. We've currently smashed our original goal of $1,150. I believe we can get to 3K. That would be really incredible to see. And keep donating to support the OI Foundation. It's a really great cause benefiting those with osteogenesis imperfecta. Yeah. Feel free to take it away.
All right. So it's really more of the same for now, but we are getting to the point where, okay, we've seen the most annoying boss. We've seen the boss that's killed most of my runs. And then later we're going to see the boss that I think is actually like the hardest one for me. These guys are really annoying because if you try just hitting them with a regular attack right away, they will counter it, hit you, and then toss you across the screen. It's when they've turned red that you can hit them with like any attack and not have to worry about that. This is a bad place to be. Are you going to join up? Okay, one of them did. In an ideal run, anytime you see like multiple enemies on screen, and they're in different lanes, they'll all just jump to the middle and try to attack you at the same time. Okay, good. This next section is another area where the ceiling's a bit lower, so it's harder to juggle enemies. And it also happens to be against an enemy with the forward drop kick move, which is one of the more annoying ones to deal with. But on the plus side, you get drop kicku being said repeatedly in the background, so I guess it all works out. Oh, that was bad. And that was worse. Okay, good. That fire attack has a tendency to just constantly interrupt my attempts at juggling, so if I can get through like more than 3 screens where that doesn't happen, I'll be happy. Okay, good. Full Fury Gauge. I'm absolutely going to need that for the next boss. This boss is also going to look familiar, but he has a very specific and very annoying ability, which is... Oh, he's going to do it. Okay. So, if he rubs his chin like that and snaps his fingers, he can freeze me in place. Like this. And now everybody just can get in free shots on me. Ah, damn it. 2 freezes. This is bad. I'm not in danger of dying, but it is going to mean, like, this will be slower than it could have been. Alright, so we're going into the final area, and these guys function much like the headphone guys in that they can just instantly counter regular attacks, so you gotta knock them up into the air first. Ah, damn it. So this is what can happen if you miss the first shot on these guys. This is another one of those areas where you're just hoping everybody like hops into the same lane. Sometimes if you like jump over the head of the first one, the other two will join up like right after you do it, but it's not particularly consistent. Okay, so this next boss is kind of going to work like the previous one. Except this guy has a very annoying tendency to, like, refresh his guard when you don't want him to. And he can do that too. I mean, the good news is the sword and the ground attack does damage to, like, everybody.
Is there time for a quick donation?
Go right ahead.
We have a $2 donation from SCXCR that says shameless, and that is putting towards the seed name in Lena's Inception as SCXCR.
So, in an ideal fight for this, you would be able to get the boss airborne, and then just, like, you can actually finish this boss so quickly that the section cleared logo lags a lot. So, you kind of end up losing time if that happens, but it's still ultimately faster than, like, if he dies the normal way. I have never seen him do that. Okay, we got the good group juggle, except for that. Okay. What's really annoying is when these guys all decide to, like, jump into different lanes, so you can't juggle them in a group. What usually ends up happening is they all separate and scatter. So I couldn't damage this guy at all until I got rid of them. But now I can just juggle him mercilessly until he does this. Hit him as soon as he gets up so that he doesn't guard anything I can do. Good, he put himself in the corner away from his shadow clones. Time is coming up soon. And time.
GG SCXCR. Do you have any final shoutouts you'd like to give?
Sure. Shouts to Tutas and Tetsuo and Davdus. The two of them were beta testers for this game, and one of them is a runner for most of the other characters in this. Also, the guy's name isn't really Fernandez. They just like randomly throw in a name for that part of the ending. Also, I think it goes without saying, but Guard Crush Games, merci beaucoup, and good work on Streets of Rage 4.
Speaking of shoutouts, would like to give a shout out to Baguette Restream, seeing as how this game takes place in Paris.
Of course. I think that is going to do it for me. So thanks for allowing me to play this for everyone. And stick around, because there's some crazy stuff coming up later on in this marathon.
No problem. Thanks for coming out. And coming up next, we will have Danganronpa with Boohead86.